That is my really kind of nightmare, and I believe they are active because they might shut down the police stations. I'm not sure if Irish government really checked Chispac, where is those stations member? Are they still active here?
In mid-February, the communities of Uyghurs and Hong Kongers living in Ireland wrote an open letter to the Taoiseach MicheálMartin and the Tánaiste Simon Harris, highlighting concerns for their safety and drawing urgent attention to the pattern of Chinese state surveillance and harassment of members of their diaspora communities. The letter was written in advance of Chinese Foreign Minister Wang's visit to Ireland and requested the Irish government to adopt a human rights-based approach in their discussions with Chinese officials, as well as demanding concrete actions with respect to acts of transnational repression, genocide and politically motivated imprisonment perpetrated by the People's Republic of China. We spoke to Nuria Zyden, the director of the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association, about the Uyghur community in Ireland, the pain and longing of being separated from family, and what lies behind her community's concerns for their safety, which she outlined in the recent letter to the Irish government. Hello and welcome to Perspectives with Nilo. I'm your host, Neil O'Sullivan. If you are new to the show, we've got a treasure trove of insightful conversations waiting for you, and you can explore all of them on our blog at pwnilo.com or by searching for Perspectives with Nilo wherever you get your podcasts. And we'd really appreciate a like, follow or subscribe if you enjoy our content. And thanks in advance for your support. The Uyghurs are a Turkic people from an area of Central Asia known as East Turkestan. Their history and their struggles for independence date back centuries. After brief periods of Uyghur independence in the 20th century, their vast territory was brought under the control of China's new communist government in 1949, when it was seized by the People's Republic of China with help from the Soviet Union. Today, there are an estimated 12 million Uyghurs, mostly Muslim, living in this region, which has been officially designated as the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region by the PRC. Anti-Han and separatist sentiment rose in Xinjiang from the 1990s, sometimes flaring into violence, and after 2001, communist authorities rebranded their efforts against Uyghur independence as a war on terrorism. In the last decade, a massive security crackdown has crushed dissent, and punishment is cultural and collective. There is evidence of mass incarceration, and the ruling Chinese Communist Party is accused of detaining more than 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities. Researchers and campaigners accuse the CCP of waging a campaign of forced labour, coerced sterilisation, separation of families, the suppression of religious freedoms, and the destruction of Uyghur cultural heritage. Following numerous international calls for an investigation, the UN Human Rights Office, under Commissioner Micheál released a report in August of 2022 that accused China of what it called international crimes and, in particular, crimes against humanity. Earlier the same year, a large amount of leaked data dating back to 2018 and referred to as the Xinjiang police files was published, and it included thousands of photographs of detainees and details of a shoot-to-kill policy for anyone trying to escape. The website XinjiangPoliceFiles.org says that the data provides a groundbreaking inside view of the nature and scale of Beijing's secretive campaign of interning between 1 to 2 million Uyghurs and other ethnic citizens in China's northwestern Xinjiang region, and sheds light on the repressive nature of the re-education of Uyghurs in vocational training centres. Previous publications by BuzzFeed News in 2020 released satellite images and interviews with former inmates to identify hundreds of fortified detention compounds built in the western regions of China. And there are many other investigative reports by researchers and media organisations who have been followed and harassed in their attempts to investigate the plight of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. We've placed links to some of these reports in the Dive Deeper section of our blog, and it's only fair to warn you in advance that some of these reports are quite chilling. The Chinese government strongly denies all allegations of human rights abuses and says the crackdown in Xinjiang is necessary to prevent terrorism and root out Islamist extremism, and the camps are an effective tool for re-educating inmates in its fight against terrorism. Recently, the plight of the Uyghurs has made international headlines again when Thailand ignored protests by the UN Refugee Agency, the EU and the US and deported 40 Uyghurs who had been detained in the country for a decade. Thailand claims they have been returned voluntarily to their normal lives with their families. However, a UN statement said those being sent to China faced a real risk of torture on their return. The fear of torture, incarceration and cultural genocide has driven an exodus of Uyghurs from China's Xinjiang region over the past decade. Uyghur people have been scattered around the world as they try to escape from this tyranny. A few hundred have made Ireland their home, and in this episode we talk to Nuria Zyden, the director of the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association, to find out more about the plight of the Uyghurs and to understand the concerns expressed in the recent letter to the Irish government from the Uyghur and Hong Kong communities living in Ireland. Nuria, you're very welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Hi Neil, thanks for having me.
So you're the director of the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association. Maybe you can start by explaining to our listeners who are the Uyghur people and where are they from?
Sure, yeah. Uyghur are one of the oldest Turkic people that have a long history, and we had a glamour and civilizations in the world. The Uyghur means is unity. Uyghur is also aligned in the old Turkic language. It's we actually is it now the Uyghur people are predominantly Muslim, but we accept Islam in the 10th century, mainly living in the Central Asia. So the place now it's called Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. We call ourselves is Turkestan. So Uyghur culture and history share tie with the Eurasia Turkic people, particularly those from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and the Central Asia Turkic nations belong to both linguistically and culturally in the same group of people.
Okay. And so just to picture where the region is, you say China probably calls it Xinjiang. You call it East Turkestan. What would be like the countries to the east or the west surrounding this region?
East Turkestan cover an area about 1.8 million square kilometer. It's I would say if you just imagine added up France, Germany, Italy, Spain, even half of the Poland. And East Turkestan share border with China, Mongolia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. The region is a huge, as large as a Western Europe. It's sit in the heart of the Central Asia, have a long international border as well.
And what would the big cities be? Would we know some of the names of the cities there?
That's the capital city is Urumqi, and also we have old tradition city where I born and raised is Kashgar, and we call six city in our music. It's like six big city together made East Turkestan, like Turpan, Wolja, Khotan, Kashgar, Urumqi.
Right.
Also, yeah.
Pretty big cities. Yeah, we certainly hear those names in media nowadays. And the population you said is, I don't know if you said, how big would the population be of the region?
I would say if we think that could be 20 to 20 millions Uyghur population there around the world. The Chinese people might think in about 9 million on our region, but we like kind of added on the diaspora people in Kazakhstan, probably 1 million, Uzbekistan 3 to 5 million Uyghur residents. I would say around 20 to 20 millions Uyghur around the world.
Okay. And is it, do most people live in the cities or do they live in the countryside?
It's a bit hard question. I would say both. Like Uyghur people as they are trading in the old Silk Road. So in Kashgar region, most of them is a city, and we also have doing agriculture because our homeland is really have a fruit of the homeland of the fruit. The region is one of the China main fruit productions region. It's we have sweet honey melon, seedless turpan, grapeseed, kola pear, and crispy ili like kulja apple, and also the 20% of the world cotton, 80% of the Chinese cotton produced is from our region. And we have loads of also natural gas, coal, mineral. So it's kind of combined. People do working on those manufacture industry as well as agriculture.
I see. And in terms of the culture, then you mentioned, your people have the Turkic language. What about other cultural aspects? Is there a special food, special music? What kind of holidays and festivals do you have?
Now the most of we celebrate Nowruz. Nowruz is like Turkic people New Year. It's like spring festival, and we also celebrate Muslim festival like Kurban festival and Ramazan Eid. So that three is the main festival among Uyghur people. Also have some different mashrab or different celebrations. Those is more like traditional music, art, because our people is really passionate about their music, art. And if you look at the appearance, even they're very mixed physically. I believe in the history we mix with more, because of the Silk Road, we mix with different ethnic group like Mongolian, Tibetan, Turkic. We are Turkic, of course, and Arabic probably, so mixed with European and Asian heritage.
Okay, and you were born in Kashgar yourself. And how long have you been in Ireland?
I've been living in Ireland since 2009. It's over a decade now.
And is there a big Uyghur community in Ireland?
We got the survey. It's about more than 200 plus Uyghur people living in Ireland.
So I guess when you have those kind of numbers, there, I presume they're probably concentrated in Dublin. It's a good reason to have a cultural centre then to promote the culture and celebrate it yourselves, right?
Yes, exactly, because this is very first Uyghur organization established in Ireland, and our Uyghur people start to move to Ireland about 2 decades ago, and they're very pleased because we really want to keep our culture, language, which under the attack right now under CCP, we want to keep our language, culture, heritage in the heart of Ireland. That is the main reason I established this organization. And also we want to come together, get to know each other, celebrate our special festival, and carry on our music, art for our next generation.
And so, as we mentioned earlier, China calls your homeland the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. You call it East Turkestan. But this autonomous region, that would suggest that it's governed by the Uyghur people themselves. Is that the case or is it not?
It's since Chinese occupied 1949, and they never delivered the promises they gave Uyghur people right to authorize, control, or the autonomous regions. What they promises that was only on the paper. We Uyghur people never get the right to use our own resources. As I mentioned, the land is really rich. We have loads of petrol, minerals, and those we never get a chance to use for our own people. They directly move to center Chinese government. That's why Ilham Tohti is economic professor. He was writing some article about the statistic, how China dialoguing with Chinese government, how they promises about autonomous regions. So they didn't let Uyghur people benefit from our own wealth. And also the promise will give us the freedom to practice our own religions, culture, but that's never been the case. That is a reason Uyghur people unhappy, and then they use kind of hard strikes to building concentration camp. All those happen for those reasons. I believe so.
What is the evidence? What are the kind of things that lead you to believe there could be these bad things like genocide happening in your homeland? Even before the human rights reports came along, was there other evidence that led Uyghur people outside your homeland to be suspicious that something bad is happening?
From the leaked Xinjiang police file report on the BBC, it was evidence that people youngest detainees is 15 years old and the oldest is 72. And also because of we all lost connection with family members and many of them learn because of their growing beard or wearing longer clothes or having Quran at home, see as a crime and bring them to the massive detentions camp. And women face sterilization, snitching young girls away from their community, send them to forced labor camp in mainland China. And those products is might ended up on our Irish consumer shelf. This is one thing. The other thing is on the UK Independence Tribunal, with mountain of evidence, they prove what is happening is genocide to our people. And also, such as the Office of the United Nations High Commissioners for the Human Rights in 2022, they already actually declare what is happening is human rights abuses and atrocity, and they are really genociding not only about our culture and but also is actual number of the people is disappearing in this camp.
And the Chinese government have responded to all of this. They deny those allegations of human rights abuses. They do talk about re-education centres and Islamist extremism. What do you say to the Chinese government response to all of this?
This is just fabricated pure line, like Uyghur people like me, and we are very how to say, very moderate, very gentle Muslim. Most of 99% of Uyghur people is Muslim, but sometimes most of them, it's their culture. They are not really practical, but still the state media, the way I growing up, they portray Uyghur as a political disloyal, culturally disadvantaged, labeling us as extremists if we practice our religion or having Quran at home or holding our culture or our traditions. They will see us as a backward or separatist. Those kind of lingering shadows for injustice over people, Uyghur people, over several decades. And then that's really Uyghur people, we used to face discrimination, see as a second-class citizen. Even me myself, traveling from different part of the city, they have a specific um, queue. They will stop Uyghur people, they will always check in your phone, ID verification, questioning, all inspecting of your personal belongings, laptop, whenever we travel to different area, even in our homeland. Those kind of discrimination now lead to genocide. Modern genocide is happening. So I would say that Chinese government oppressing of Uyghur is not a new phenomenon. Manifestations of anti-religious sentiment, culture suppressions, and ethnic discriminations has been long-standing issue.
Recently, we had a visit in Ireland from the Chinese Foreign Minister, Wang. He met with the Taoiseach MicheálMartin and also with the Tánaiste Simon Harris. And your organisation, the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association, along with Hong Kongers living in Ireland, sent an open letter to the Irish government before the visit. Can you share with me why you wrote the letter and maybe some of the key points it talks about?
Sure. Yeah. The reason after we get to know, and I think it's our obligation, really let Taoiseach MicheálMartin and Tánaiste Simon Harris mention about human rights abuses happening for Uyghur people, Tibetan, Hong Kongers, and all those oppressed Chinese citizens, because that is really the obligation. We don't want to Ireland take profit over human rights, which Irish people hold justice, equality, human rights really dear value for them. And as I mentioned, because they never give the freedom what they promises for us since 2014, our region witnessed a great expanded police presence, also fall under the heavy blanket of civilians as a part of China public declare people war on terror and its associated effort on religious extremeness in 2016. And since 2016, the civilian social control measure began to spending rapidly. 2017, and they take more than 1.5 to 3 million people to modern concentration camp. And most of Uyghur people living in Ireland, we lost connection with our family back. And on the open letter, we mentioned about those issues. For the beginning, China was not admit there is a camp. And then later they admit this is a re-education camp. But in the re-education camp, we can find there's many doctors, scholars, writers, musicians, artists on this camp.
And
And that's why
Nuria, can I
sorry,
ask you, when they say, when they say it's a re-education camp, what are they trying to re-educate? What are they trying to teach these people?
they want to escalate those extremists. If that is kind of very typical propaganda China using, because growing up Uyghur was always challenging. If you practice your religion, they will see you as a terrorist or extremist. If you close or uphold your religion, your culture or your language, they always see you as a separatist. That is kind of measure, and they round up so many people to the concentration camp. And since 2014, we actually start to know those kind of systematic discriminations, repressions, and those lead to the modern genocide happening in my home region.
May I ask, do you have family members that have gone missing or cannot be contacted who you suspect might be in these re-education centers or concentration camps?
Yes, since 2014, I lost connections with my entire family back in Kashgar, and 2005, my mom is the only person still kept me in Chinese WeChat app. Before that, I used to communicate with my family through app like WeChat or Skype. It's kind of provide me a sense of connections and comfort. But however, especially from 2015 or end of 2014, I noticed most of my old classmates, friends, my family members, cousin, auntie, uncle, brother, sister, they all removed me from the app. My mom was the last one kept me on WeChat app, but I think she's back 2016. She told me do not contact her. She will not feel safe to speak with me. Then I learned that having family member abroad or maintaining contact outside of China can be perceived as a disloyal, or that kind of behavior can lead them to the internment or concentration camp. So since then, I didn't contact with any of my family member.
I know that China has its Great Firewall, so it tries to block any internet communication between inside China and outside China. But how about visiting? Can you visit them, or can they visit you? What's the situation about visiting?
Yeah, on my open letter, I also mentions so we Uyghur people not only being genocide, they also take away our freedom of movement. Most of Uyghur people living back on our homeland, like my family, none of their passport being confiscated. None of them will issue new passport. They not allow them to go abroad or visit family members. And I don't think, I never actually go to Chinese embassy to apply visa. Since 2012, I gained my Irish citizen, and I haven't visited my homeland more than a decade. I'll be too scared to visit, especially now with establish of Irish Uyghur Cultural Association. Although I start very gently, just promote Uyghur culture and language, still I will not feel safe to visit them. But my family members, as I know, none of them have passport.
It must be terrible not to be able to see your family for such a long time.
Yeah. And my children, I'm actually mother of three Irish-born children. They are born and raised in Ireland. They never get a chance to meet my part of relative. And I only They only know about Uyghur through my experience, the way I told them story. It's from the longing in my eyes. It's hard to explain to them and why we are not able to even place a phone call. It is terribly, really, really difficult situation. It's kind of daily life for Uyghur living in Ireland. We're waking up with a weight of uncertainty about our family well-being. It's challenging to articulate the depth of this crisis and its impact on my daily life, many Uyghur people life, and they don't know where about their family or their parents. And I'm sometimes I find my mind wandering back to my hometown, thinking about my family. I don't know if they're subject to mass surveillance, atrocious detentions, or all kind of abuses may happening at this very moment. And I even feel very sad. I may never know how and my family members might pass away, especially my elder mother. She's 75 years old. I may not know about her condition, circumstances of her final moment. That pain is just really unbreathable and beyond descriptions.
That's pretty incredible to have to live with in that situation. You said in your letter, though, that you don't feel safe and your members of your community do not feel safe after years of settling here in Ireland. You said, we do not feel we can openly exercise our right to protest for fear of retribution. Can you tell me what you mean by that? Because I think many people in Ireland would say, China is very far away from Ireland. How can they hurt anyone living here in Ireland, even if they want to protest against them?
Yeah, we did call on Irish government to highlight that there is no room for transnational repression took place in Ireland because our community members, even on my lunch event, I talked to the journalists. I've been living in Ireland more than a decade and I don't have courage to speak out. I also don't feel to speak out. And that is same issue with my community members living in Ireland and also with Hong Kongers because if we speak in we don't know as a we well I've been harassed, I've been intimidated. I have people follow me from Ireland when I joined 8th World War Congress from Ireland to Sarajevo. That is happening here in Irish soil. And also the Chinese government typical tactic, they will use our family members as a hostage if my actions here exercising my freedom of speech, freedom of talk, my constitutional right as Irish person, but my family might, because of this, they will be tortured. They might be sending to some detentions. I don't know. That can happen. That is a reason Uyghur community being very silent, long silence. We don't have voice. And also some of people, you can imagine you want to go back to the place you born and you live. And that is most of Uyghur people dreaming they want to go back to place to see their relative. And if you involve any moment against or talk against Chinese government, and they may not issue you visa or passport, or even they do issue you visa, and when you travel, they might detain you in the airport. They had many cases. So that's what we mentioned about. And also they use those kind of soft power media and misinformations about Chinese propaganda. It seems everything is perfect in China, but yeah.
But, Nuria, if you want to protest here in Ireland, I mean, how will the Chinese government know you're protesting unless they spy on you? Are you saying there are Chinese spies in Ireland watching what you and your community do in Ireland?
We believe so because this is very typical tactic. Sometimes China even use our own community members. It's happening other part of Europe. Sometimes people might because most of Uyghur people come into Europe as a political asylum refugee, and it's not easy to build life in different system. It's a totally different place than they're growing up. And when they lost, sometimes China can use soft tactic, as I say, they can offer you job working in Chinese restaurant or funding you to opening restaurant in those trying to spying your own community. And then they also invite them going to Chinese embassy to dancing for dancing, sing, and show Uyghur people actually live in harmony. They don't have any issue. If they don't have any issue, why I can't see my family back? It's more than a decade. Why so many Uyghur people woken up with such a weight?
Mm-hmm. I know we had a Chinese police station that opened on Capel Street in Dublin. It was shut down by the Irish government. So even though it was shut down, I guess my question to you is, do you still believe that, even though there's no physical police station there, do you believe its operations are shut down, or could they still be operating?
It's difficult for me to comment about that, but that is kind of my nightmare. That's why I mentioned on my open letter, my Hong Kongese activist friend, they don't really feel even now, they speak only with anonymity. They don't really feel they can let public know about their name. And now people know my full name. I actually quite worry if those police stations members still actively in Ireland, and they could really easily to harm me or harm my young kids. Anything can happen. That is my really kind of nightmare. And I believe they are active because they might shut down the police stations. I'm not sure if Irish government really checked back where is those members of those stations member. Are they still active here? And I report to Gardaí, and I had two Chinese individuals followed me from Dublin airport to Sarajevo, and when I arrived in Sarajevo holiday hotel attending 8th World Uyghur Congress elections, I saw they are taking a photo of me, filming me towards harassing of me, and those happen, but I don't know if they are from the Chinese police stations. Are they those member?
Okay, but you reported to the Gardaí. What did the Gardaí say when you reported to them?
I believe they are investigating and taking this thing seriously and documenting, but I don't think we find that two-person yet, or maybe they're not resigning in Ireland. They're not a resident of Irish. They're not resident in Ireland.
So we talked about your open letter to the Irish government, and I read in the Irish government statement after Wang Yi's meeting that the Tánaiste Simon Harris, he did raise your concerns and the concerns of Hong Kongers with the Chinese foreign minister. Do you believe that the Irish government have paid attention to your letter and will take action on it?
I hope so. I do hope they did read the letter, and that's why they was mentioning about human rights. I'm not sure if we didn't wrote open letter, they will mention about human rights. But the serious things really make me worry is about island security and safety, because now the TikTok, Timu, Shane, and those biology headquarters in Ireland. So that is so much concern going on, and that's actually I do worry we will not being safe even living in Ireland.
So you're concerned about the influence this gives the Chinese government in Ireland. Is that correct?
Yeah, the influence, also transnational repressions, and the guard station was opening there, and they might have actively Chinese police or Chinese security members, business tied, everything is increasing in Ireland.
What action would you like to see from the Irish government? What would make you feel more secure in Ireland?
I hope Irish people at least show the sympathy they show to Palestine and willing to stand up for the human rights for Uyghur people. And also, I want the Irish government, at least when they have a business and trade with China, pay attention and or have negotiate dialogue about the human rights issue happening in my home region in Tibet or Hong Kong. And mostly I want Ireland can work on secure the island national security, not let China soft power manipulate Ireland, and then those transnational repression long arm is reached in island soil, Irish soils, given a pressure to Irish citizen. That should have a zero tolerance for that. That shouldn't have a room to let them threatening, harassing Irish citizen in Irish soil.
What can ordinary Irish people do to help the Uyghur people in their situation?
The first thing, I wish Irish people can educate it themselves, go to the website and learn more about the atrocity Uyghur people facing. The second, I wish they can really consider the human aspect of this crisis. Beyond the statistic, there are real people and enduring real pain, like their neighbor, the Uyghur people. The atrocity faced by Uyghur community are not just merely political issue. That is fundamental human right issue. So I hope they will never forget the atrocity of the past, and the Irish people can stand together, tell the government there is no room for the tolerant, and we would like to ask all Irish people to take actions
Okay, and how
to
can
defend the human rights.
okay, how can Irish people find out then about the website? You want to let us know your website, or maybe how to follow you on social media?
Yeah, we are alive in X, Instagram, also in the LinkedIn. The website, just checking. The website is www.irishuyghurculturalassociation.ie.
Okay, and it's on social media?
Yeah. So for the moment, we don't have we don't have any resources. Just a few of us volunteering. So probably our website is not very professional, but still there are quite a lot of informations you can learn.
Okay, very good. So, Nuria, it's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Bye.
That's Nuria Zyden, who is the director of the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association. My sincere thanks to Nuria for sharing her valuable insights with us on Perspectives with Nilo. Her courage and openness in discussing such important topics are truly inspiring. To stay in touch with the Irish Uyghur Cultural Association, you can follow them on Instagram or check out their website at irishuyghurculturalassociation.ie, and we've linked both of those in the Dive Deeper section of our blog. The Irish Uyghur Cultural Association website also contains a statement condemning the recent deportation of Uyghur asylum seekers from Thailand to China. The Irish government has made no direct statement on this issue. However, the Tánaiste did include a statement on China's mistreatment of Uyghurs in his press release after China's foreign minister's visit to Ireland on February 17th last, as we reported in our previous episode. And while many other governments, including the US government, have condemned the recent deportation of Uyghurs from Thailand, listeners may be interested to note that there appears to be a slight change of tone in the new Trump administration's position on the matter. In the US State Department's annual human rights report released last April, the then Secretary of State Antony Blinken was adamant in highlighting US protest against genocide and crimes against humanity against Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities, which he said were, quote, ongoing. However, in the latest February 27 statement by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he said that, quote, China, under the direction and control of the Chinese Communist Party, has committed genocide and crimes against humanity. End quote. A subtle but surprising change, especially given Marco Rubio's hardline stance on this issue in the past. In a rare public statement issued by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, on August 27th last, 2 years after the release of the original report, he said that the UN continues to follow closely the situation in Xinjiang, but reported difficulties posed by limited access to information and the fear of reprisals against individuals who engage with the United Nations. What's clear is that the onus is still on China to take meaningful steps forward, and on the Human Rights Council, backed by the international community, to closely monitor until it does. And that's where we leave it for now. we've placed links to references and additional information for all of the topics discussed in this episode in the Dive Deeper section of our blog, and you can find it at pwnilo.com. We hope you found the information shared in this episode useful, and we'd really appreciate a like, share or follow on your favourite podcast app. And thanks in advance for your support. As always, thank you for listening, and until the next time, Slán agus beannacht.